opportunity for this discussion. I think it was a good workshop. There'll be actually coming up a little bit in the resolutions. We'll also have more of a discussion on the downtown area as well to follow up kind of on Paula's point before. But I'd like to be able to open up our regular meeting and if we could all rise for the salute for the flag. Rob?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay.
Just again asked to make sure that this meeting meets the sunshine requirements notification.
Yes, Chairman, it has.
Can I have a roll call, Commissioners?
Mr. Davis? Mr. DeWise?
Yes.
Ms. Duffy? Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Grillo?
Here.
Mr. Parikh? Councilwoman Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Here.
Chairman Zabrowski?
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We have the minutes from our last meeting, June 13th, 2024. I hope everyone's had an opportunity to review those minutes. Are there any need for modification or revision? If not, I'll take a motion to accept.
Make a motion to accept the minutes.
Can we get a second?
Second that motion.
Roll call?
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. DeWise?
Yes.
Ms. Duffy?
Yes.
Mr. Grillo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Roberts?
Yes, except for the time when I dropped off the call for a bit.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Chairman Zabrowski?
Yes.
Thank you.
Well, we have a moment now. We're going to kind of not suspend our meeting, but to take kind of a personal note of the fact that two of our long-term assistants are moving on. We have one with us today, and that's Joan Kemble. Joan Kemble was our secretary for the last 13 years. You know, commissioners come and go, but when you have the success that Sera's had, particularly with all the work that, good work that Sera has done over the last several years, and obviously the last 13 years, you have to have really good, compassionate people and to be there to assist. And Joan is certainly one of those. I've known Joan and her family, well, actually her mom, for I guess it's close to 50 years now, maybe close to it. I can tell you one thing about Joan and her family is service comes first. So it's their town and what they can do first and foremost. And she certainly did that for the borough of Saraville, in particular for Sera, and we are most indebted to that. So if we could all come to the podium so that we can greet Joan, I'd like to be able to present her with her plaque.
I'm sorry, what? Reading the photo? I could probably take a picture for her. Should we move? Okay.
At this time, Joan, we'd like to present you with just a very token symbol of our appreciation for all the hard work you've had over the last 13 years for Sera. It says, we extend our deepest gratitude to Joan Kemble for 13 remarkable years of dedication and excellence as Sera Recording Secretary. Know that your contributions have made a lasting impact and will be remembered fondly. And thank you all for your service. So Joan, thanks so much for all that you've done.
Thank you.
A few words, Joan?
No.
I know we have short time, but thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone. Yeah. Okay.
Absent today, but certainly not forgotten as well is our Executive Director, Joe Ambrosio, who is also moving on. We have a plaque to be able to present to Joe as well, which says, "For 15 remarkable years of dedication and excellence as the Executive Director of Sera Agency, know that your contribution was significant in shaping the landscape of our community through redevelopment while maintaining community character." It's very important. 15 years of service for trying to moving the borough of Sera forward in many ways, and we're very well indebted to Joe for all his efforts. And we'll present this to him at a later time. Moving on, attorney report.
Chairman, I've got 4 or 5 items under resolutions for the meeting. I think we should have the discussions when we get to those items. I didn't have anything in addition to those.
Thank you. Engineer report.
Justin. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just a brief update on Riverton. They've been busily working. Actually, I have Kevin here. Would you like to provide an update straight from the horse's mouth? Okay, sure.
We'd love to hear from
This
you.
is Kevin from.
Let me use this one if I can. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For those few of you who I have not met, I'm Kevin Polston, the project executive at Riverton. I've been at Riverton for November will be 7 years that I've been here with a great team moving things forward. I haven't been in front of this group. In fact, I don't think I've seen Ms. Jones since before COVID, but we spent a lot of time together in the small room in the early days. I'm here really in support of the few agenda items that we have in front of you tonight. But since I'm here, we've been providing some updates to Justin, but I thought I'd give just at least a 10,000-foot level overview of where we are. A few things that have occurred since our last report last month. I know everyone's very interested in what's going on with Bass Pro, topic of the day, topic of the month, topic of the year. We continue to work on the revisions to the lease that are necessary to get the project moving forward, but we've gotten great progress on the construction side. We believe the building permit will be issued early next week. We have the foundation permits in hand. The building permit for the core and shell, I believe, is going to be coming out of the office, Kirk's office next week. Since your last meeting, we've received from the engineer, the borough engineer, the confirmation that we've satisfied all the conditions of resolution compliance for the Bass Pro site plan approval that was issued in 2023. This group reviewed that site plan modification. Planning board reviewed that site plan modification. Effectively, they turned their building around 180 degrees, drove a lot of changes to the site, so that we've kind of checked the final box for the building permit to be able to be issued on that plan. The punchline, and we have some steps to get there, and Mark updated Justin, and Justin updated you all last month, but we think our schedule calls for steel to be seen from the parkway by the end of the year. So I know that's really important. Putting concrete in the ground, we've got a lot of concrete in the ground out there. I know people aren't as interested in concrete, but we'll see some vertical construction by the end of the year. Any questions about any of that part? The other essential part of us starting is the ability to open, right? So one of the biggest projects that we've tackled in this last 5 years is the sanitary sewer system, force main. I mean, Dave and his crew have been with us side by side on this. We actually started construction over 2 years ago on that. We're kind of down to the final steps. The pump station building, I won't say it's a Taj Mahal of pump stations, but it's very nice and very functional. The foundation systems are complete, and we actually are expecting that building permit to be issued next week as well. So we're on the cusp of being able to start that work on the vertical components of that pump station building. On the other end, where it connects to the MCUA, we actually applied for our building permit on that last connection piece last week, and that work is scheduled to start in September. So we've been building all these timelines so to make sure we can flush toilets when we get tenants open. That's kind of the critical piece. The first tenants, we expect actually the first tenants to be open later next year, before Bass Pro, because some of the tenants that will be building their own buildings, smaller buildings, shorter construction timeframes.
Kevin, you have signed a lease for two smaller companies,
At
right?
this
I
point,
mean,
we have
one
one-
is on the agenda tonight.
We have one signed lease for one of the smaller tenants. Another tenant we have advanced negotiations with, and they've actually been in front of the building department already with their plans. Their plans are very well progressed. They had an informational review with the building department a few months ago. So, we feel pretty confident about that transaction.
That's at least two so far that's signed.
And we have others. We have others well, no, I'm sorry, just to clarify, that second one is not signed. But their plans are just about fully developed, and we don't see any reason why that lease would not get signed. Yeah. And then there's several, we have a list of, there's probably 15 deals that are behind those in various stages, both in this first phase of development along the gateways, entrances to the project, and then deeper into the project as well. So our concept all along has been get this started and have enough land ready to develop that we can meet the market demand as it flows from this first phase of development.
Chairman, one of the things that you don't realize in line sight, a lot of the work that supports all of these buildings has been being put in the ground for the past 2.5 years. That's when they started the sanitary sewer. They started making water connections. There was a water connection that was run across the Main Street extension, all to go through and get ready for going vertical. But it's been a very active site. Not that you can see anything above ground, but below ground, it's been busy.
And
Waiting for the shot in the ground.
we're not waiting, we're pushing. So, and for those of you who have not been to the site, I'll reiterate what I've told all of you individually as I've seen you. We welcome you to the site. We appreciate the interest of the commissioners in what's going on. We feel like every time someone comes out to the site, they leave better understanding what's going on and what we've been doing. And they're almost emissaries for us out into the community to reinforce that this is real. It's not just, we're not just moving dirt from one end of the project to the other. In fact, Beverly Johns was out last week. It was my first opportunity to meet her. She came out with Tom and toured the site with Jeanette and me. And, going out to the site, out to the water, you can't see the roads because we don't have roads in yet, but we have kind of road beds, compacted haul roads, I would call them, haul roads. And in those haul roads, we have structures that come out of the ground, and that shows you where the manholes are going, where, we can kind of track the storm system that goes in the road bed. So it's a lot of progress. It actually looks like a real development site now versus about 2 years ago. A little bit chaotic. The last thing I do want to update you on, I know that there was a lot of excitement in December when we got the EDA board approval of our Aspire tax credit financing. I'd like to take just a minute to explain that program. I don't want to get too in-depth about it, but there was maybe some perception among some folks that, hey, the state wrote us a big check and hey, here's this money to go pursue this development. Just to clarify, and I don't want to get too much into the weeds of how the program works, but effectively, we have 5 phases of development that are projected to be completed over 10 years. At the completion of each phase, we'll get certified with the state. And over a period of 10 years following that completion, we'll get 10% of our tax credits for that phase over time. So each year we'll get 10%. So this is a 20-year relationship, a 20-year program that will create revenue streams to reimburse the developer for funds that will come out of the private development pocket. So I just want to make sure that structure was clear. Since our December approval, we've been working. We have biweekly meetings with our team at the EDA. There's a lot of detail to resolve on a $400 million tax credit program. We got in late June, since your last meeting, we received our approval letter, which basically forms the basis of the agreement with the EDA to embody the terms of the approval in a binding legal document. So we got that about a month ago. We submitted our comments. We're in negotiations of that. That's effectively our agreement, and that agreement is going to have to be completed before we can start. One other action the EDA took in May relative to this group, we spent, Dave and I and Mike and the crew, we spent a couple of years negotiating the redevelopment agreement, restructuring, the pilot, special assessment, all those related documents that were completed in June of 2021. And we started that process in 2018. The EDA confirmed in May 23rd, that the redevelopment agreement complies with the requirements for a community benefits agreement under the Aspire program. So that enabled us to really kind of move forward and not have to go backwards to try to figure out how to fit into that program. So we are, we have prevailing wage and green building and affirmative action programs that have to be implemented pre-construction. So we're in the process with the EDA and the related agencies on that at this point as well. So we're getting everything ready to be able to get that concrete in the ground, support the steel, and get the steel up. So that's the quick overview. And obviously we have agenda items in the later in the agenda. If there's anything, I'll be around. If there's anything I can help with, please let me know. And thank you for your time very much. Thank you. Thank you.
Justin, anything else on
That's it for engineering. Thanks.
executive director's report?
Chairman, I didn't put together with a number of reasons the written report. It will be in September, but I just want to alert Commissioner that we have a number of different projects that we are right now reviewing it. We have one mixed-use interest around Route 9, Perrine Road area. There is also, we had a meeting with Red Oaks and I think I reported last time that they're talking about expansion and battery storage. We have also met with the developers and now we're looking at Chairman, myself, Bina, and we spoke about thinking about doing some redevelopment plan for area of Crossman Street and Main Street corner. It looks like a quick check is we will be moving on to near Riverton. And it looks like the Wawa is coming at that corner. The shopping center may not be survived. And so we want to start working on a plan. And when we talked about it, we have extended the entire Crossman Street both sides. There is a developers currently building a maintenance facility on a Crossman Street South area, which is actually a private street. It's not a public road. There's a company already closed down. There's some environmental concern. The construction that you see is also on environmental sensitive site, ground. And then there is additional land behind that they would like to expand, and we're going to be looking at that. And eventually, obviously, everything that I'm saying will be coming to Commissioner here for an approval process. But I just want to alert you that these are the things, and I think that some positive things we've been hearing is that we may be hosting data center, which would be a tremendous benefit to borough, because data center provides a pretty good revenue, but it doesn't have any traffic impact. So these are the area that we're working on. I just want to alert that financial system now is in place. In this package, with your bill list, you have been provided with a financial statement, which includes the balance sheet, the budget report, the escrow report. Wayne and I have been working pretty heavily to get up to date. The bank reconciliations are all done now. So we're in fact now and operating a financial system that as somebody like us, this agency, should be operating on. So that's almost complete, and that took time. I earlier mentioned about the grant application. That's an extensive process. It's going to be 6 to 8 months. They want bi-weekly meetings with them, just for approval. So we're working with that, and part of that required some registering Sera with the federal agency. I don't know if anybody has any experience with the SAM's registration. It is lengthy, extensive, a lot of documents to provide, which I had to call upon Mike to get me some document, David, some documents, and to submit to them. And I think we are almost at the tail end. We got initial approval, but there's one more step. We're waiting for that approval. Once we get approved from SAM's, then we go to the FDA back and we start working on their checklist of probably 30 to 40 items to complete. That includes engineering report, that includes a legal report. They want to see our ability to perform or execute the grant and manage the grant. Next is the BDA, Brownfield Development. We have a meeting, David, next week, correct? With the,
We have a BDA meeting.
we have BDA meeting and the commissioner are I believe it's Mike, correct me if I'm wrong, it's our chairman, obviously. Bob is on that BDA committee and Steve. Oh, Ken, I'm sorry, Ken, yes.
Ken's been on for.
Right, he's been, so that meeting is scheduled next week. There's a renewal that is a resolution on the agenda tonight for you to authorize us to renew. There's a renewal process. And then I'm collecting all the necessary document they requested for renewal. And ultimately, there may be some modification. If there is a modification, then we still want to proceed because July 31st is a deadline. But I'll come back to you with any changes if they have requested. But I think it's pretty standard renewal. David had indicated that we do want to add additional site if there are any, and that's what we're going to incorporate. That's my report.
Thank you, Mancha. Any questions, comments?
Yes, before we go on, I think it was just a little muffled, so I just want to be clear. I heard what I heard. That was for a grant application.
Yes.
And who is the sponsor of those grants?
The FTA.
FTA.
Transportation Agency.
FTA. Okay, that's what I thought I heard you say. And then I think you said something about a SAM's application.
So part of FTA approval is a federal agency. So they have a they have a requirement that we must be registered to what's called SAMS. It's a payment processing system of, developed by IRS and all the agency, all the recipient must register. So they want to make sure that we are who we are, and that where the money is coming to us, spending here, and it's not going some foreign country. And so for all that, there is a extensive process on SAM's application. That's just a step one.
And thank you for that, because I had a different SAM's acronym in my head and it didn't make sense. So I appreciate that.
No, Sam's Club? No, it's not Sam's Club.
Okay to accept the report? We'll move on. We have the 2023. Oh, yep, no problem, Ian. Thank you. We have the 2023 Audit Corrective Action Plan. It's in your package. I hope everyone has had an opportunity to review it, but we do have Wayne here today who's going to give some explanation. Wayne?
This corrective action plan basically mirrors what was discussed not for the 2022 audit last meeting. There's just a few items less. The first item about the pension bills, they've been paid all up to date as of January of this year. So that's squared away. About all prior year outstanding checks and properly approved by commissioners. And actually, it's supposed to be the cancellation of those outstanding checks that were paid out to a vendor in prior years and is no longer deems viable. They cancel them, as opposed to reissuing a check for something if it was lost in the mail or what have you. The check that didn't clear. The third item was that all agreed upon administrative fees be collected on each anniversary of the agreement. We're pretty well, I would say we're about 70%, 80% up to date on that. We have schedules prepared so that each year they can be reviewed to ensure that the fees are paid at the time they're due. They're not all due at the same time. It's different months of the year. So we have that in place. The fourth item, that all allowable expenditures be properly submitted for reimbursement in timely manner. We try to keep on top of that. We don't just put uh, invoices in a file and hold them. We try to make sure they get acted on quickly. Of course, we've found some that have not been, and I think that's why this uh, a recommendation was put in the audit. They did find some from previous years that were not acted upon, and now they're looking for payment. So, like I said, Himanshu and myself have procedures in place to see that that doesn't happen again. The last item is that all escrow accounts have sufficient funds before any expenditures are charged against them. As seen by the report, I believe you'll see one escrow account that still has a negative balance. We've cleared up all the other ones. We're in a process of getting funds from the one item to cover it. I've been in contact with our attorney, and our attorney's been in contact with the project coordinators. So we should be receiving those funds, and it's approximately $5,000. It's not a large amount of money. So that's it. That's all the items. This list should contain no items next year, and if they do, it'd
That's
be
the goal.
one at the most, two at the most. So,
I'll catch up.
Thank you.
I have a
any
couple.
questions?
I have a couple of things to add to that. One, I was going to talk about it later on, but I just want to bring it up here but what you see on an escrow, or we're changing quite a bit of this process change. So the escrow deficiency will not occur because we will know that ahead of time. Now the system tracks. We're making our professional also do the tracking. We're going to be issuing them purchase order for every one of our active project, so that purchase order will protect us, protect them. We will know as we depleted purchase order, they'll have to come back to us, and we'll know that, hey, we need more money on escrow. So there's a whole new escrow procedure is being in place now to prevent the overdraft of the escrow funds. Number two, I just want to, on an outstanding check, cancellation of checks that Wayne mentioned. As we were going through reconciling all the accounts, we discovered that about $2,300 worth of amount of checks, and they're each $75, pretty much. All of them is $75 check for
Delivery.
21, 22, and probably 23. This is the money that our executive director was being paid by Sera for delivering of packages.
Being
And he
reimbursed.
never cashed it.
He was being reimbursed.
He was being
$75
reimbursed
per meeting.
for that. So,
For the-
but he never cashed it, not as, pretty much all of them. So I wanted to, because of this condition and records and audit, I wanted to bring it up here and let you know that we're going to be issuing a replacement check, single check, replacing all the money. Money belongs to him. It's his money. And I think it's appropriate to replace all of those checks and give him his money. So, okay? I think those are the two things I just wanted to add.
All the checks that were issued recently to NW Financial, they were for invoices from 2022 to 2023.
Yes.
Those are, they were just old and hadn't been paid?
That's correct. That's
Right.
where the comment came in the 2002 and 2022 and 2023 audit.
Okay.
was because these were discovered, okay, and, they need to be paid.
And we're not using them any longer. We're not using that service any longer. NW Financial, right?
They are, I believe they are awarded a contract as a bond underwriter. Should we issue debt or bond, then will be calling on for the services. It's on the agenda. But we are right now for as a financial advisor, we're using Phoenix Advisor that does calculation of the pilot amount or part of our redevelopment agreement, figuring out the fees or other things that we would want to charge. They are the advisor to us, not the NW. But NW still will be called on when we issue debt, and I think at some point in the future, Sera will be issuing debt to reimburse, to pay the county, which ultimately is going to be paid by Riverton.
Well, hopefully their invoices will be a little more enlightening rather than just stating general services and analysis. That's what their invoices stated. So
Well,
maybe in the future, they could give us a little more detail as to what they did.
I agree with you on that we should have a pretty detailed invoices, but unfortunately, this was not paid. Original invoice may have come up with all the backup. Right now, we're behind in paying them, and this money is also coming out of escrow. So we didn't process that until we got the escrow funds received. And so this is not coming out of Sera's operating budget, it is coming out of escrow. But yes, we are owed, and regardless of where we're paying the bills, detailed explanation on every invoice should be there.
Any other questions for Wayne? If not, Wayne, thank you very much. We appreciate all your efforts. At this time, can I get a motion to accept the 2023 Audit Corrective Action Plan as presented by our CFO?
I'll make a motion to accept that.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Davis? Mr. DeWise? Ms. Duffy? Ms. Fisher? Mr. Grillo?
Yes.
Councilwoman Roberts? Mr. Scott? Chairman Zabrowski? Thank you.
Authorization for payment of bills, total amount 143,098.62, A and B.
Can I make a recommendation or ask a question before we go there? I know that we are going into the new accounting system, and I did look at the documents earlier, and we still have the invoices the way they previously were done. A lot of our professionals and vendors will reference a project number. I think we should have a standard project number for those projects that we are involved in, to be able to do a summary based on project, how much did we spend for each type of category. I think CME does a really good job on their invoices, and Hoagland Hoagland and Longo also do the same thing with the project number. They're not the same one, but they run almost parallel in the types of descriptions they use, so it's easy to follow. And I think we should set a standard so that we can see everything based on project.
Well, I think in our accounting system, because we are required to adhere to the standard accounting system, you look at the project listing, you got the report in two formats. One, the report is by account number. It's similar to what Borough does. You have by account number, which is description of what the project is about. So for example, in budget, 2024 budget, we have categorized different category that you approve in the budget. Within that, we have subject category. For example, cost of providing services. Then you have a legal. Under legal, you have a bills from our legal department. Under engineering, you have a bills from our engineering. Now, once we start implementing the purchase order numbers, they'll have to follow those purchase order. This is a general services that you are awarding right now. or if there is a special project that will come along and you award that, we'll issue a separate. You're gonna do the resolution, we'll issue purchase order. But that's in your bill list. You have that by project, and then you have another set of bill lists by vendor. So each vendor, for example, CME, all the bills paid to CME is listed under the CME. That includes his bills for escrow, that will include his bills from operating budget. So there is two different process, and I'm more than happy to sit with you, or Wayne can go over and explain to you that report.
Okay, because what I would like to see, and I don't know if any of the other commissioners would like to see it, is, for example, we have a project, landfill 3. Would be nice to know how much engineering costs were involved, how much attorney costs were involved, what the overhead was, and also the escrow. So just seeing a project end to end, I think would be valuable, just to get a good high level.
We can certainly generate that report, Wayne, under those accounts. Then we can generate report by vendor for each project. So there is a way to
By
generate.
project with each vendor.
Right. Yes.
So kind of-
Yeah, there is a report, separate report, and that's not necessarily for this bill list purpose. That is a report year to date. We can generate those data. We can generate how much CME is being paid, how much Hoagland is being paid, and for what project. So those reports are separately available, and we'll make them available to you. But these are standard report that we're providing you as part of the bill list, so you can see. Those are escrow, what you mentioned. But then they also get paid from your operating budget, the budget you adopt for 2024, we adopted. In fact, Wayne and I talked about it, we're gonna start the process for 2025 now, because you're gonna be adopting that in November. That operating budget is maintained separately because we have to comply to the state requirement, accounting requirement on budget system. So those reports, but at the end, we'll be able to tell you how much CM is paid from operating budget, how much is from each escrow. Those reports can be generated.
Well, let's have a discussion outside of here to see if we can come up with something that would be valuable.
Okay.
Thank you.
Donna, the other thing that Hamacho has us doing is, we're now calling the projects by the same name.
Thank you.
Because you would have,
Project ID
yes,
number would be
you would
great.
have Fulton's Landing, you had Crossman, you had Mako, and it was very confusing.
Yes.
So we're now using the same names across the
Thank
professionals.
you. That's going to help significantly also. That would help.
Can I get a motion to approve payment of the bills as listed?
So moved.
Is there roll call?
Mr. Davis, Mr. DeWise,
Yes.
Ms. Duffy, Ms. Fisher, Mr. Grillo,
Yes.
Councilwoman Roberts,
Yes.
Mr. Scott, Chairman Zabrowski.
Yes.
Should he be included? Okay, Mr. Parat, yes.
We now have a number of resolutions, the first of which I'm going to ask both Mike and Himanshu just to brief. It's a resolution to qualify all professionals submitting requirements for professional services.
I'll start and Mike can jump in because I'm sure I'm gonna be not using legally. So, Commissioner, we went out in, I believe in end of May, June for our request for professional services. All those professional services submitted. The first resolution is, and Mike and I reviewed them, and they're all qualified professionals. And so the first resolution Resolution A, is simply saying we're accepting them as a qualified professional. Then in Section B, you have resolutions that are awarding contract to all of those vendors and with the not to exceed amount. This is something new. I don't think that Sera implemented not to exceed in the past. We are implementing that. So each professional will have, or each vendor will have a not to exceed amount. Should we, and should we deplete that? Should they deplete that? And they're going to perform the work service we asked for them to perform. And part of the process, if they get closer to 80%, we're going to have an alert. I'm going to be coming back to the commissioner to award additional amount. This is primarily in your operating budget, that budget you adopt. So that's where this particular award is taking place. Then you see some with the zero amount. Those were, while we're appointing them, but we don't know if we ever, when the service is going to need it, what service is going to be needed. We're going to be awarding a contract, but ultimately, if we do call on them services, then we'll be issuing an amount not to exceed again to them at that point. But right now, I want to make sure Commissioner knows these professionals are being awarded, and that, then we'll notify you if we do use services. Some of them, we do it because there's a conflict. But that's the reason that we are awarding them already, because we need those kind of services readily available if we need them. So those are the two process that is going on in A and B. We ask that, Mike, anything to add?
No, just when you're hiring professionals in local government, it's a two-step process. You first qualify them. Mantra and I reviewed it. Qualifying them just means you look, they have a license, they've submitted their insurance papers, they've submitted their affirmative action papers, they're licensed with the state, those sorts of things. So we check basically to make sure that everything that was on our checklist was in the package. So that's sort of a ministerial function. The second one is where the commissioners really weigh in and decide which of those professionals you want to actually authorize a one-year contract for. You qualify everybody, because if something happens during the middle of the year and you need a new professional, you don't then have to go out and
do a
find
whole new
somebody
right.
new and do a whole new RFP process. You'll be able to say, okay, we qualified 2 people, the first one can't do it, we're going to go to the second one. So that's why we qualify everybody. We submitted all the proper papers, but you only hire the ones right now that you're actually going to use.
We actively, have them service us. Basically, it's the engineer, legal, and a planner, and I believe an auditor. Okay? Yes.
You take a roll call vote on A, and depending on how the commissioners want to do B, in the past, we've discussed it in executive session in case the commissioners had any questions or issues with who's getting hired and how much they're getting paid and that sort of thing. So B would come later in executive session after we come out of executive session.
If necessary.
Yeah.
If you have there are certain questions in executive session, but majority of them we need to discuss in open session.
Okay, for item A, looking for a motion,
I'll make a motion.
Second.
roll call?
Would our newest member be included, Mr. Beaker? Thank you. On all items, thank you. Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. DeWise?
Yes.
Ms. Duffy? Ms. Fisher? Mr. Grillo?
Yes.
Mr. Parikh? Councilwoman Roberts? Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Chairman Zabrowski?
Yes.
Thank you.
On item B, are we looking for an executive session?
I am not, unless the commissioner would wish to, they have a question. I think that the pool we are awarding contract, it's the same professional we have with an amount. Those are the same professional we have. But it's certainly a commissioner prerogative. If you want to discuss an executive session, we can hold off. We can go into the executive session and then come out and take a vote.
I would recommend we take a quick exec because we have a very new group of commissioners.
Okay.
And I think that would be a prudent thing to do.
Okay, so then we hold off
That's,
taking action.
Resolution.
We continue with our resolutions. Oh,
I'll take care of C if you want.
Yes,
Yeah.
please.
Please.
So C and D are the same type of documents, just one relates to Bass Pro, other relates to Quick Check. We've done it previously with, I think, Chick-fil-A, maybe last year. So Sera still owns the land, the former National Lead site. We still own the SSA, the Riverton property. It's leased to SSA. And now SSA is, and it's a 96-year lease, and they have a right to buy it for $1 at any time they want. And at another time, it can go into the reasons for that. They've already paid for it, but there were reasons for it to be leased. But now they're leasing it, subleasing it to future tenants. Bass Pro, in this case, Quick Check. Bass Pro and Quick Check want to make sure that Riverton is not in default with us, that they're going to be able to use the property without having any interruption. And that's what these documents are for. In the commercial leasing sense, they're also referred to as a estoppel document saying everything's okay. Riverton can lease it to them, and we're not going to say, oh, well, wait a second, we're throwing you out. So that's what C and D are, Chairman.
And I believe Kevin is here for those two specific resolution action. And Commissioner, we highly recommend that we approve this, both resolution.
When I saw the one come in for Bass Pro, I called Himanshu right away. I was very happy to see that progress.
May I make another recommendation? I'm sorry. When it comes to resolutions from this body, we don't label them either. Is it possible for us moving forward to give each resolution its own identifying number and
Like the council.
like the council resolution, so we can keep track of them maybe with the year and then start with a 3-digit mnemonic afterwards?
We're using the Word document tab system and it automatically assigns, but we'll figure out a way to number them. And with the year 2024 and hopefully continuation, I know what you're referring to.
Thank you. And again, we're going to approve or not this set of resolutions as a group, or are we doing them individually?
We're going to do them individually.
Okay.
With that said, can I get a motion for item C?
I make a motion to approve item C.
Second that motion.
Roll call?
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Dewise?
Yes.
Ms. Duffy? Ms. Fisher? Mr. Grillo?
Yes.
Mr. Parikh? Councilwoman Roberts? Mr. Scott? Chairman Zabrowski?
Yes.
Thank you.
Can I get a motion on item D?
Make a motion to move item D.
Second that motion.
Roll call?
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. Dewise?
Yes.
Ms. Duffy? Ms. Fisher? Mr. Grillo?
Yes.
Mr. Parikh? Councilwoman Roberts? Mr. Scott? Chairman Zabrowski?
Yes.
Thank you.
Item D is an authorization contract for Claro Ventures for consulting services regarding Main Street. Now, this is that extension of that conversation that we had under our workshop. And Steve, if you can provide a little background.
Sure. Just for a note, I'm going to recuse myself from the discussion and vote, but just for information, if you recall, this was the workshop that we had back in April where I made a short presentation.
If you can recuse yourself, then you should.
Then I will leave. All right.
Want you?
I'll ask the
I will-
Somebody, well, Himanshu, do it as well as I would.
We'll give it a try. I don't know if I can meet the requirement of Steve, but I think that if you recall earlier this year, Steve had, last workshop actually, Steve had done an extensive collection of data from all the commissioner about our downtown. Subsequent to that, based on the collection, we all had agreed that we need to explore further. And we have been searching for somebody who can put together a document about condition of our downtown and further. So we met with the Claro Ventures. Seems very qualified. And I'm going to ask Mr. Claro to come forward and address the council with about your background so that Commissioner can, get an idea.
Good evening, everyone. First of all, let me say you have an amazing air conditioning system in here. It's pretty cool. So my name is Cesar Claro. I'm the principal of Claro Ventures. I've been operating Claro Ventures for about 2 years now. Prior to that, I was the president and CEO of the Staten Island Economic Development Corporation. In addition to running Claro Ventures, I also run a foundation on Staten Island, a community foundation, and spent some time in Sayreville today, walked the main street, and I think there are a lot of challenges there, but also a lot of opportunity. And the basis of my work would be off of the study that Steve had did and the analysis that he had did, and working with the key stakeholders here. So looking forward to hopefully doing this work.
Can you give us, you have done many of this type of study. Can you just reader one or two of them that you have,
Sure.
where they are success story?
Sure. So we created 3 business improvement districts on Staten Island, 1 industrial bid, 2 retail bids. And putting them together, the success in getting it done, which, it's a lot harder to do things in New York City than I think it is in New Jersey. And I'm learning that as a Jersey City-based consultant now. Getting it done was accomplishment 1, but then the success that has come out of those business improvement districts, I think you could say that first and foremost, there has to be someone that wants to lead on the revitalization. There has to be a name and face at some point that leads the effort. They have to have a vision. They have to be someone that can organize the effort. And there has to be a plan, a commitment to it, obviously a financial commitment from the town or from a local organization. And then you got to get buy-in from the merchants, the property owners, and residents to really turn an area around that needs the help. But once you can put all that in place, it's really smooth sailing after that. I'll give you the Newdorp example. Newdorp Lane is a retail strip, an older retail strip right in the middle of Staten Island. Our team went in and said, listen, we think you're primed to be a business improvement district. We found 1 local insurance salesperson, insurance agency owner, and she was completely dedicated to the cause. She went door to door, got the 70% vote that we needed. She actually got a 90% vote that we needed, created the business improvement district. Within a few years, the vacancy rate dropped. They started doing events like car shows, which were drawing, and this is no joke, like 10,000 people on a weekend to a car show. We did maintenance. We did a tremendous Christmas effort in decorating the lights, putting in new flower beds, planting trees, putting in benches. And none of that would have happened if we hadn't gone in initially and done a plan which ultimately led to the creation of the Newdorp bid. So that's one example.
A part of your efforts are going to be to obviously take an assessment and inventory of what's in our downtown area, talk to the local merchants and residents that are there as well, right?
Yes.
And also to be looking at what amenities might be, could be utilized or would be necessary to make improvements.
That is correct. And working off my experience, and I've been spending some time in different towns in New Jersey that have had successful retail neighborhood turnarounds. So bring that knowledge to it as well. You got a question? Oh, I thought I saw a hand go up.
Are there any questions?
Not to exceed contract.
Yes, thank you, Mike. We think alike now.
Not to exceed $7,500.
Right.
Okay.
This plan, this is for the plan, right, that you will give to us,
Right.
what you suggest we would do.
Yeah, it's an assessment of what exists now, along with recommendations on what to do moving forward. correct? All right, thank you.
For item E, if there's no other comment, can I take get a motion?
I make a motion to accept item D. I'm sorry. Item E.
E. Is there a second? Roll call?
Mr. Davis? Mr. DeWise? Ms. Duffy? Ms. Fisher? Mr. Grillo? Oh, sorry, Mr. Parikh? Councilwoman Roberts? Mr. Scott? Chairman Zabrowski?
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, item G, is that
F.
Mike? I'm sorry, F.
I'll take care of that,
Yeah,
Chairman.
please.
Over the course of the last 15 years, Sera has been participating. You've heard the Brownfield Development Area Project with the DEP. It's part of the remediation of the former national lead site. It also includes a landfill site next door. And I think David reported last time that landfill has already been cleared. There's nothing more going on at that site. So this is principally about the Riverton site, the former national lead site. There have been 3 previous memorandums of understanding. The DEP likes us to update them every so often. They've asked us to update it again. It spells out that we're supposed to have community involvement. We have commissioners who are on the BDA, that we're going to meet quarterly, that we're going to prepare progress reports and the like. So this is just the 4th iteration, the 4th version of an updated MOU. We have a draft from the DEP as to what the MOU is that they want. It's very similar to the previous one. As Himanshu mentioned earlier, if there's anything that's significant, they're going to ask us to change. We'll be back to you and talk to you about it. But we're meeting with the DEP representatives in a BDA meeting next week. So we'll nail down if there's anything else that they want done. But they also want that done this month.
Mike, the only thing I remember that David, David had mentioned that while we have designated 3 commissioners, that under the BDA, we should list all commissioners. So if one is not available from 3, somebody else can participate if it's necessary. So if we can just amend that to include all the commissioner in that.
And that we have that's a recommendation for this resolution.
Yes.
Obviously. Item G, can I get a motion?
F.
I'm sorry, item F.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Davis? Mr. DeWise? Ms. Duffy? Ms. Fisher? Mr. Grillo?
Yes.
Mr. Parikh? Councilwoman Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Scott? Chairman Zabrowski?
Yes.
Thank you.
Now item J, Mike?
Okay, item G also relates to Riverton, the former national lead site. As part of the arrangement we have with the state of New Jersey, going back to 2008, the state, through a grant program, provided $20 million for the cleanup of the site. They also required that the developer collect money and have an additional $10 million fund. At that time, in 2008, it was anticipated the cleanup would be about $39 million for the site. So there was 20 million from the state and another 10 put away. You're pretty close to getting the $40 million for the cleanup. Unfortunately, the cleanup has now cost well over $100 million. It's all been funded for privately by the redeveloper and their investors. The redeveloper would like to go back to the state and ask for additional grant funding from the state to help reimburse them for the extraordinary costs. In the end, they believe it's going to cost close to $167 million to clean up the site. Your professionals are wholeheartedly recommending that we support whatever the developer needs to do to apply for those grants.
We do recommend commissioner to take action and allow our developers to apply for the grant.
Yes, we recommend it. But one of the things that the commissioners all should know is that this has been discussed on and off for the past probably 7 years, okay? Because that's when they realized they were going way over what the estimated cost was originally. But 2 or 3 years ago, there was a big push put on it. We had some discussions with the DEP, but it didn't go anywhere. I think it behooves us all to go through and encourage the DEP to consider this.
Can I get a motion on?
Make a motion to approve that.
G? Or I'll second it.
Roll call?
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. DeWise? Ms. Duffy? Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Grillo?
Yes.
Mr. Parikh? Councilwoman Roberts? Mr. Scott? Chairman Zabrowski?
Yes.
Thank you.
Item H?
Yes. This is, we earlier discussed the FTA grant application. We had applied. They did award the grant. Part of the process, this whole thing, we asked them saying, we already applied and we were authorized. They said, no, you were approved, but you have to take a resolution of vote. So this is basically, a procedure. So we asked the commissioner to authorize us to filing an application and execute an application by chairman and myself. That's basically it.
Yeah, and I would just add to that, the money has already been approved by Congress, signed into law by the president, but there's a second procedure we have to apply to actually get what they've already approved.
Can I get a motion on item H?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Roll call?
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. DeWise?
Yes.
Ms. Duffy? Ms. Fisher? Mr. Grillo?
Yes.
Mr. Parikh? Councilwoman Roberts? Mr. Scott? Chairman Zabrowski?
Yes.
Thank you.
Item I?
I'll start and I think I'll turn it over to Steve and the committee. I think last meeting you had formed personnel committee that included Steve Grill, Commissioner Grillo, Commissioner Duffy, Commissioner Davis. We met and agreed that we should continue and see possible hire someone as an assistant executive director, for multiple reasons. One, to help with a lot of efforts that is going on, but more importantly, there is a continuation. It was agreed by the personnel committee. We posted position on Sera's website under Ceraville.com for, I believe it's a 7 or 10 days period. We did have one application from Zachariah Slitted. Am I saying it right? I'm butchering your last name, but he applied for it. This week, committee met again, an interview. And then subsequent to that, we had an extensive discussion and we agreed to appointing Zach as an assistant executive director with the salary of annual salary of $20,000. Steve, I'm going to turn it over, committee, I'm going to turn it over to you now.
There's a couple of points of
A
clarity.
couple of points, yes.
So if you recall at our last meeting, we had a discussion, as Himanshu said, that there are sometimes non-RFP hirings, right? We have our attorneys and engineers, as we did earlier. That is for the process that we've taken in the past. However, being that we are a 501c3 nonprofit, right? We're not a board like others in the town. We do need our own governance structure, and we developed an internal personnel committee, myself, Mr. Davis, and Ms. Duffy. And so the first opportunity to utilize that committee was on this hiring, which was offered by Himanshu. He felt that there's the need for an assistant director. He explained the process. On Monday, we met, we interviewed the candidate, Mr. I'm gonna do it better than you, Himanshu, but not very well. But it's Schlechte. Schlechte? All right. Zach. So Zach interviewed with us. We asked him, I think, quite robust and pertinent questions. We then asked him to depart the meeting, and we had a discussion over the structure of the position, compensation, et cetera. We arrived, and Mike, I don't know if this is for public or for close, but we did reach an hours per week and okay, so we had discussed, Himanshu believes this is a 15-hour-a-week position at $25 an hour times 52 weeks in the year is $19,500 to be precise. We also proposed a 6-month probation period that would not only evaluate his performance, but the necessity of the position. Is 15 hours the correct amount? Is it too much? Is it too little? What is his aptitude? Should we be utilizing him for different services within the agency? So that's where we left off. We agreed that Zach was a qualified candidate, and we agreed that the compensation was fair based on the amount of money and the hours per week. As a committee, right, we have no authority to advance this beyond a recommendation to the full agency. So that's from the technical side of what we did. That is what happened earlier this week. Certainly, Bob and Paula, if you want to weigh in on your opinions, I think it would be valid so that everyone can hear.
Just want to add one thing, that it is, the intent was, at the time we first met, we talked about it, hiring under the shared service agreement we formed with the borough, and this is another hiring under shared service agreement with the borough employee. We have a multiple employee under that shared service agreement.
Yes, so an important point of clarification. Zach currently serves as the chief of staff to the mayor, and so he is on the municipal payroll, and this would come out of the Sera budget, and in addition to his 40 hours a week. So his work week would be 55 hours in total, 40 dedicated to the borough in his current position, and then 15 in addition for work related to Sera. And that's the facts. Now we can get to the opinion.
Any commissioner wants to discuss the merits of hiring or not hiring or salary of Mr. Schlicky? You're more than welcome to ask to discuss that in executive session. You don't have to air your issues in public if you don't want to. Pro or con, but the decision to make the hire always has to be done in public.
May I recommend that we add that to our exec agenda
Sure.
with the other items that we'll be discussing?
I'll speak at that time.
Well, with that in mind, I think we should have a resolution providing for an executive
Yeah.
session.
Chair,
No?
I was going to, Anthony sent it to you?
Oh, yeah, she gave it to me.
Okay. And you just add item C, which is personnel.
Oh, could I just make a point of order? The resolution that's in the packet for the potential hiring doesn't have the 19,500. So
Right.
we do. I just want everyone to know, if you didn't get to that very last page of the 375 pages,
It
It is blank.
It wasn't predetermined.
yes.
Whereas the Open Public Meetings Act enacted October 21st, 1975 permits a public body to exclude the public from meetings or portions thereof wherein matters to be discussed are exempt from the requirements of the act. And whereas the act requires that prior to holding a meeting or portion thereof from which the public is excluded, the public body must adopt a resolution in public that provides the holding of a private meeting. And whereas the Sera Economic and Redevelopment Agency has determined that a meeting should be held from which the public is to be excluded to discuss subject exempt under the act, and now therefore be it resolved by the Sera Economic and Redevelopment Agency that it meet in executive closed session under the Open Public Meetings Act on to discuss contracts, agency professionals, waterfront redevelopment, personnel issues. Be it further resolved that the minutes of the executive closed session shall be made available to the public after official action on the subject matter has been taken. May I have a motion?
Before we do that, we can delete B from that. There's nothing on waterfront to
Gotcha.
discuss.
May I have a motion?
I make a motion?
Second?
Second.
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. DeWise?
Yes.
Ms. Duffy? Ms. Fisher? Mr. Grillo?
Yes.
Mr. Parikh? Councilwoman Roberts? Mr. Scott? Chairman Zabrowski?
Yes.
Thank you. Whatever you want to do.
Where, you want to go in the back, the 310? We won't fit in.
Yeah, I think, well,
Is there somebody?
there may be a meeting in there.
I think the second 310 is open, right? Which is
Or 308.
308.
Okay.
Just let everybody know that after the executive session, we will be taking
Action.
further action.
I back.
Either 308 or 310.
How much? You're heading out? There you go. All right, Denise, I'll see you.
All right, Wayne, have a good night.
I used to live in Sera, one year, and then I just moved up there 3 years ago. Again, so I lived together, thing, fixed the wall, and moved down. So trying to, so I kind of slope around the block still, and a little major driveway that now I want to go back up. How the hell they got a house over there, so probably would leave them not for it. It's meeting real quick. I'm so appreciative. It's you. You should know why I am. I ran. And I've served on the county committee for 10 years. They were very. But
started my own direction, I guess, and now I have moved away. Yeah, I don't know if I'll be coming back, but at least I'll move down professionally. I think that's even better, because less of the conflict. If I'm not even in town, now I can, that's true. It's not this way. It's just. It's beautiful. Expensive. Maybe looking sooner rather than later. Again, so I don't know where, but I'm operating a law firm under the other, so like, I have, you know, all this space in Hackensack, it's close, it's 6 central, it's kind of what the pumps are, and I need to, that, I need a, is it mailing address to get service process, things like that, or like small criminals, that's a lot of time for that, you can always relocate, and also, then you gotta go. So definitely. And all around, that's what like, for this and this, get a couple of things, rebuilding, say, trying to get city, like up there. So, you know, it's like that, a lot of it. Do you do copy resolution? I also. Yeah. I mean, I want to take a look, I want to read it, just to see what happens. And that's what I wanted to all grab, I don't think even more works. So maybe look. I don't, that's what, they didn't put it online, so that's not also. Team doesn't, the agenda is. Not people just. Yeah, every time it goes over, it's not like. It's also like regards to the things, it's knowledge, yeah, episode, I'll get it there, and everything goes out. You now. They're going up showrooms, they're back, so we all the time about that. It's good. It's been some. She said, all the things. Yeah, that was she was that. That's bad stuff. That's their safety. Yeah. That's what I felt used to. Yeah. Choose that. Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Sure. What was Seems like a lot of. At this case right now, I do things. Go forward to Mercedes Benz, cash, do that. If you're hanging some of that, it just sounds like. It really sounds like exactly what. Record. What, chair, can't get us, give our, get from ballot, conventions, we can't. Well, the problem is that, I mean, there's some sort of. Now, I wasn't, about it, I live. Street. Yeah. That might have to be with Don, Ernie. That's the big next year. Yes. I did not get it. And the reason they went from. Well, it was, sure, instead of, it's like, yeah, we got my chair. And also. She, no, everybody, it's on, right? So we'll do. That's interesting stuff. Yeah, test it. That's the problem. That's never, the issue. Yeah, so I started with that. Pretty close to things, share from the county. I just started, he's the chair. Counties around there. That was pretty fun to walk down there. It's just Bush was senator for a while. And we usually, well, after that happened, the shot is on sports, really endorsement. It'll be interesting to see who that so right then. That was interesting. This is like awesome. I don't think it's like it's like people meet we have these nice stuff. It's like I mean as far as the city, it's even like art meetings. It's kind of exciting that it's like a person. Yeah, pretty much. Who's barely all. Everybody 35 is 39. So so just it's interesting that like it's better than so it's interesting. It's always interesting that as much as they see so people past that, but yeah, you work or go against that. Yeah. You want, or you're evidence that you're not doing something. Yeah. People are, it's a big, it's not a huge fan of the end, so it's a big kind of sensitive. For this, it's not bad. It's all common, nothing else. Yeah. It's interesting. I don't know, I think I've seen this person. I worked on physics. So, well, that's not where. So you bring Sure. Oh, sure. Big, big. Things get lost in email, it's like, right, and then like, all different, communicate with, it's fine, but. Knowledge possibly, that's. Just message my partner, so I, right, you from the Literally, I might rather walk around some food night. If I'm being honest, I'm one of them. No traffic from here. Tonight, now half face, but flat traffic. Washington speech there. And I think it's the last day of that, so I should mention it. This is the first time he's going to speak. Just walk around with his, haircut, right? It's failure. It's just unacceptable. That would be cheaper. It's gonna be interesting. I forget how to.
Well, you know, I've worked for a big agency, and if you can get two agencies to work together, we know we don't put in more than 15 hours. But if you have two agencies, you have one. All in the same. Oh, yes.
And you don't want to sit up here with us?
Yeah, just didn't realize it. I saw anything. This is Dr. John Zabrowski. So I have to do it on my own.
Predetermine what the.
I have to do it on my own, you know? Sometimes you need to. There you go. Right, John?
Yeah, we did.
Need a motion?
Can I take a motion to come back into
Regular session?
regular session?
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Great.
So,
Correct about
Oh, we have two resolutions.
so two resolutions. One is is B. And Mike, do you want to do the honors
Can
on
we
it?
do that in a
or
group?
do we,
You can fill in all the names in a.
I'll have the Manchu do that. Right? The Manchu?
Yes. Where is my copy of that resolution? We have? Um,
One more on this page.
Okay. Um, Thank you, Chairman. For everyone's benefit, for agency audit attorney, it will be from Hoagland's firm. What's the name?
Hoagland Longo?
Hoagland and Longo. I don't have all the submission in front of me, so I apologize. Good. Yeah, that's, for special counsel, Hibinsky Law LLC. Agency engineer, CME Associates. Agency auditor, Samuel Klein and Company LLP. Financial consultant, it will be Phoenix Advisor. Appraiser, it will be Solker Realty Service Group, Inc. And we're also going to recognize Wade Appraisal LLC because we may need more than one appraisal. For bond counsel, McManaman, Scotland, and Bowman LLC. For bond underwriter, NW Capital Markets, Inc. And agency planner, VMS Planning Services. Now, let me just, I think I missed to state on agency engineer, CME Associate, not to exceed $25,000. Agency auditors, not to exceed $9,675. And for agency planner, not to exceed $9,000. Now, I want to add one more thing that I missed earlier, is that this amount will carry through December 31st. We're awarding contract from July to June 30, 2025. Our budget operates from January to December. I will be issuing, or Wayne, as a CFO, will be issuing same amount, not to exceed new amount in January for the same agency. If there are any changes or we need additional, then I will come back to you for commissioner's approval. But otherwise, we'll award the same amount, okay? So I just want to clarify that.
One other thing to add, those are caps on expenses that
Oh.
the agency pays out of its operating budget, not escrows. Escrows, the executive director will approve by purchase order whenever there's work to be done on a project.
Yep. I think, Mike, is it okay for commissioner to take a vote in a group, or they need to be done individually?
We've traditionally done it as a group unless there's anyone that wants to be pulled and voted on separately.
So Chairman, you can do it by,
Motion?
for B.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
Roll call?
Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. DeWise?
Yes.
Ms. Duffy? Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Grillo?
Yes.
Mr. Parikh? Councilwoman Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Scott?
Yes.
Chairman Zabrowski?
Yes.
Great.
We have a final resolution on item I.
I just want to clarify one thing. Steve asked me to make sure that it's clear that Zach is a exempt employee, not an hourly, 40 hours employee. He's an exempt employee. He doesn't work on an hourly basis.
Correct. The estimate was just, the estimate was just for purposes of understanding how much work might be involved.
We have a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Roll call?
And that, just for I, do we have a price to be added into that, or?
Yes, so I was proposing 20, but I think the commissioner agreed to 19,500.
Okay.
Is that?
That's the recommendation, I think, from your committee.
To be paid on a monthly basis, for a total amount of 16.
Annual salary. It's an annual salary.
But he's going to be, he's not an hourly employee. This is as a monthly compensation.
Okay.
Yeah. So 19,500, correct?
For the annual, great. And we have a motion, a second. That's going to be Mr. Davis?
Yes.
Mr. DeWise?
Yes.
Ms. Duffy? Ms. Fisher?
Yes.
Mr. Grillo?
Yes.
Mr. Parikh? Councilwoman Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Scott? Chairman Zabrowski?
Yes.
Thank you.
We have anything else for new business?
I think that covers the agenda, entire agenda cut. And I don't have anything to add.
Any last comments by commissioners? Seeing none? Oh, I'm sorry, Mike.
Thank you all for your continued confidence in our firm.
Thank you. We appreciate the reappointment.
Take a motion for adjournment?
To open the public.
Oh, I'm
portion.
sorry. Listen, yeah. Take a motion to open to public.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Anybody from the public like to speak? Anybody from the public would like to speak? One more time, anybody? Take a motion to close public portion?
Make a motion to close the public?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Now for that motion for adjournment?
Motion to adjourn?
Everyone have a great night.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.